my name is Sharon Brizinov. I'm a vulnerability research team lead at Clarity. And today we're going to discuss about how hackers are attacking your OT network. So basically, it's going to be a detailed walkthrough of the ICS cyber kill chain with examples of real life exploits that my team and myself found during last year, during the Corona year. So let's start. So first of all, a bit of background about us. So as I said, my name is Sharon Brizinov. I'm the vulnerability research team lead at Clarity. My team responsibilities is to find vulnerabilities in different ICS SCADA products. This includes PLCs, RTUs, HMI panels, engineering stations. So we're trying to buy and break both hardware and software related to ICS SCADA equipment. And up until now, I think we have hundreds of vulnerabilities published. We're also doing CTFs, and we have participated in multiple competitions, including the S4 CTF, which we won first place in 2019. We also participated in DEFCON CTF and Pwn2Own ICS Miami. So we have a pretty much a strong team for finding vulnerabilities and exploiting those. So about our lecture today. So the agenda is going to be focused on why hackers want to attack your OT network, how they do this. So we'll give a couple of examples from script Kitties level, and we'll go up the chain up to nation-sponsored cyber groups. And we'll give some details, and we'll present and show some real-world example of exploits that my team has found during the years. So with that, I would like to start with the basics of OT networks. The assumption is every network or any device will be hacked. We've seen lots of complex cybersecurity operations over the years. Basically, the OT security, the cybersecurity side of it started kind of with Stuxnet at 2011, but we have multiple examples from recent years, including the Israeli water utility. We had a couple of attacks on known automotive factories, and not just automotive, but also other manufacturing factories. For example, we have a Honda case from last year. We had the Norsk Hydro attack also last year. We have some examples from electricity grid attacks with crash override, and we had Triton. So we have lots of sophisticated malware attacking OT networks. And the question that I want to raise here is why to attack OT networks? So why would hackers invest so much time in researching this particular OT equipment? This is not the usual easy to get equipment. So why would they invest so much time in hacking OT networks? So I thought about this question too, and I came up with two major reasons. So there is the political reasons and there are the financial reasons. So the political reasons are kind of obvious. It's a nation warfare, cyber warfare. Two nations are fighting each other, and they're also the war is transferring to the digital space too. So we have cyber warfare. Obviously, cybersecurity is a way for nation states to obtain secret information and prepare a detonator or prepare a virus for the day that they would like to use it. So cyber warfare is a very common reason for huge cyber operations, but we also have financial reasons. And in the financial reasons, we have mostly ransomwares, attackers trying to attack OT networks because they want to infiltrate into the network and execute their ransomware. And we have many cases. So in 2020, we had the Snake ransomware. It would deliberately attacked Honda's network for extortion reasons. So they want to achieve money. So both of reasons, political reasons, cyber warfare, and we have financial reasons to extort money from companies, and specifically from big companies or big factories or manufacturing. And OT is their in most cases OT is their Achilles uh, point. So the end game in most cases when hackers are attacking OT networks is disruption. So attackers want to disrupt the process. They want to shut down equipment. They want to modify parameters, maybe put some more substance uh, in the water, maybe change the RPM of the engine, maybe change the RPM of the centrifuge, maybe wipe or encrypt data. So usually when attackers are hacking OT networks, they're aiming to do some physical damage. And I think this is the most prominent difference between attacking IT environment, because when we're attacking an IT environment, it usually can cause some damage, but not a physical one. It can cause a virtual damage. But when we're talking about OT environments, the damage is real. The damage is physical and real. And so this brings me to the next slide, and I would like to talk about who are the threat actors. And again, I've divided it I divided it to a couple of different categories that I'll try to go through in this lecture. So first of all, we have script kiddies. These are the threat actors that do not have in-depth knowledge. So they know how to use tools that other people developed, and they will just try to run those tools. This is a very basic attack. Usually it gets them nowhere, and usually these kind of attacks are opportunistic. So they're not trying to aim at a specific target. They're kind of doing brute force, and whatever works, works. Next, we have script kiddies with Metasploit. This is the category that I've chosen for this kind of sophistication. So usually it's script kiddies too that are using tools that other developed, but they're a bit more sophisticated. They know how to operate more complex tools such as Metasploit. And next we have hackers that hacking real IT OT networks. So it's kind of a penetration testers with a vast knowledge of different tools, and they know how to do reconnaissance. They know how to navigate inside the network. So they're a bit more sophisticated. Next, we have hackers that also know how to develop their own exploits. So if they encounter a device or a software that they want to exploit, they have the knowledge of how to do so. And finally, at the highest rank, we have nation state sponsored hackers. And this is, we're talking about sophisticated cyber attacks, sophisticated operations. Usually, there is entire infrastructure behind these kind of operations. They have tons of people, tons of money, and they're investing a lot of time in preparing for this kind of operation. So they're developing their tools, they're developing exploits, they're developing everything needed for their cybersecurity operation. And this is the highest level that hackers can get. So let's start with basics. Let's start with difficulty level 0. We're talking about script kiddies. So how difficult it is to hack ICS equipment. So let's try to think about this. Can you, not sure who's on the talk right now, but can you hack OT equipment? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes, because if you know how to operate OT software, you probably know how to hack OT environments. And let's see why. There are a lot of internet-facing ICS devices. So if you're doing a showdown search, you'll have tens or hundreds of thousands of devices connected directly to the internet. So anyone who is scanning the internet can directly communicate and send commands to these machines or these softwares connecting directly to the internet. And there is no need for sophistication to attack these devices. And I'll show you why. Just before that, I want to emphasize that this is a known issue that even CISA and NSA has recommended to take immediate action to reduce exposure across operational technology and control systems. So they want you and they want all the asset owners to remove any potentially vulnerable ICS equipment from the internet. So they don't want, obviously, that ICS sensitive equipment, critical infrastructure equipment will be connected directly to the internet. So let's see. Now you want to attack ICS equipment. So what a script kiddie would do? First of all, they will go to Showdown, and they will go to Showdown and they will search for, let's say, SIP CIP protocol, which is a TCP or UDP 44818. They will do a very simple and basic search, and they will get, in this case, I got at least 8K results of different PLCs, ICS equipment that communicate the SIP protocol. And you can see we have different PLCs from different manufacturers, different vendors, and they're all directly connected to the internet. So if you go to if you try to ping those, they will probably answer. If you try to communicate with them through the SIP protocol, you'll succeed too. So basically, you can directly through Showdown find PLCs, live PLCs of real environments that you can directly communicate to. So if you're a script kiddie, what would you do next? You'll simply start the engineering stuff, software related linked to this kind of PLC. You'll enter the remote IP address of the PLC, and you'll connect using this engineering station to the remote PLC. So for example, you enter the IP address and that's it. So what can you do with it? You can modify the code, you can modify the logic, you can do a download operation, and then not good. And then bad stuff will happen because usually these PLCs are found in live production environments, and this is how basic zero script kiddies with no knowledge of attacks and cybersecurity, how can they create and cause some real life damage? So what can an attacker do with engineering station? They can do a lot. They can change the main logic, so they can influence the process. They can send malicious commands such as stop or overriding memory addresses. So they can do basically lots of real life damage to those environments. They could also modify the PLC configuration, so they could change the card's layout, they could change the IP address, they could change many other parameters configured on the PLC, and they could also change the process itself by changing some tag values. So for example, in the Stuxnet campaign, the Stuxnet malware changed the RPM, the speed of the centrifuges a bit, and it caused some real life damage. And these cases are real. So just by plugging in engineering station remotely by using PLCs that script kiddies are finding online, they can do a real life damage. They could also read sensitive data. So if, let's say, a factory, a drinking company has a secret recipe, attackers could obtain this recipe as well, because the logic of how to create this recipe is stored in the logic of the PLC. And obviously, if you're doing an upload event, you could obtain the logic. You could obtain also the secret recipe. So there are a lot of examples of why it's dangerous. And now we're moving on to the script kiddies with Metasploit. So these kind of more elite cybersecurity script kiddies, and they won't directly use the engineering station, but in this case, they would use some more sophisticated tools. In this case, I'm presenting Metasploit, which is a framework for exploiting for remote exploitation. And inside Metasploit, there are a lot of modules. Some modules are also SCADA related, so you could see some SCADA related modules such as Modbus read and write registers. You could also find some other ICS specific protocols, malicious commands. You could probably start and stop PLCs of different vendors because there are a lot of SCADA modules. And this kind of script kiddies will use these kind of frameworks that other people wrote in order to do some exploitation. And there is a nice research from FireEye, they published it a year or so, showing how many ICS exploit modules are out there public by framework. So you can see there are a lot of ICS modules in Metasploit, which is a very known framework for exploitation. There is also Core Impact, and there is also Immunity Canvas with 53% of their modules are ICS related. And if they all, FireEye also broke it down to different vendors, and we can see we have many different ICS related vendors. So potentially script kiddies could hack known vulnerabilities of almost all the major vendors in the industry. So these are the kind of more advanced script kiddies. And we're moving next to hackers that have more knowledge of how to attack different ICS environments, different OT networks. And we're talking about attackers that are kind of penetration testers. Maybe they did some work in the field. They know how to propagate inside the network. They know how to jump and roam between computers inside a corporate network. And usually how they would work is they'll try to penetrate the OT network. And to do this, they have a couple of methods. So first of all, the old and usual common method is hack the IT network and then go through the DMZ between the IT and the OT and then move to the OT network. They can also try to hack or find credentials, leaked credentials to remote access solutions. They could also try to use and find misconfiguration. So if you have a computer inside the OT network that by error someone connected it directly to the internet, maybe they could try to find these errors and these misconfigurations. And also we have the roaming laptops. Think of a technician or engineer moving his laptop between the internal network, the internal OT network, and the external internet. So if somehow hackers were able to install malware on this laptop, the malware at some point will reach the internal network. And if we're talking about the Purdue module, so kind of the network layout of the IT and the OT, so we can see that we have in most cases direct links from the internet to the internal network. And this direct link is usually remote access. So it can be a VPN or it can be a remote access solution. And the reason for this is because engineers and technicians and everyone else do not want to go to the factory on Sunday to do some maintenance work, and they need to have kind of a direct link into the OT network in case of something wrong happens. So in almost all of the cases, OT networks will have some kind of a weak spot, Achilles heel, that will allow or at least enable attackers to enter and infiltrate the network. So usually how it will work is what we call the ICS cyber kill chain. So the ICS cyber kill chain is the steps that attackers would walk through, that they will go through in order from start to finish, from starting to hack a particular OT network until they reach their objective. And to help with this, Lockheed Martin published again a few years ago the cyber kill chain, and in OT it's kind of the same. So the first stage would be reconnaissance. Attackers will try to find some information about the company, the factory, the manufacturing, maybe what kind of hardware equipment they're using, maybe what kind of software they're using, and then the attackers will try to make weapons. So they will try to find exploits on these kind of softwares or hardwares. Then they will try to deliver these exploits somehow to the network. It can be via a phishing campaign, it can be via remote exploitation, it can be through many different ways. Their objective in this stage, we're talking about stages 3 and 4, is to exploit the perimeter, or at least exploit one of the devices that will allow them a foothold in the network. It can be the IT network or it can be the OT network. Next, they will do what we call the installation phase. So they will install a RAT, a remote access tool, or they will install some kind of malware that will try to communicate to their CNC server, so it's command and control server, to receive more information on what to do next. And then the malware or the rat will communicate back home with some information about the internal network, and it will get information from the CNC server telling the malware or the rat what to do next. It can be try to run a couple of exploits inside the network. It can be to obtain information. It can be maybe to read information from emails. And then it depends on the attackers and what their objectives are, but they will move on inside the network and they will try to achieve their goal. So basically, this is the cyber kill chain, and it's very similar in ICS networks too. So ICS hackers would go through the same stages. So this is kind of the third level of hackers that they know what they're doing. They are not experts yet. They do not know how to develop entirely by themselves the exploits. Maybe they will buy them. Maybe they will hire someone else. But now we're moving on to the ICS hacking 202. So it's kind of hackers that know how to create their own exploits and 0 days. And in this category, we in 2020 tried to change our set mind to these kind of attackers. So we tried to develop exploits that are not just vulnerabilities. They're vulnerabilities that could help potentially attackers to exploit and hack OT network. So in 2020, my team and myself tried to target remote access solutions. 2020 was the Corona year, so obviously remote access solutions were a very popular target for attackers, cloud solutions, and third-party components. So we tried to focus on these three areas. The first one, the remote access, is kind of the obvious of why attackers would want to have and achieve exploitation of this kind of software or devices. Their goal would be to jump from the external network immediately into the internal network. And we've researched, I think, maybe 6 or 7 different remote access solutions, and we found multiple vulnerabilities. For example, we researched the Moxa EDR, which is an embedded device designed to be a secure router and kind of a remote access solution. And we found a pre-auth RCE. So we found basically a stack buffer overflow, which could be exploited remotely without any authentication. And because this device is sitting outside the network, attackers potentially could have found this and used this to exploit and enter the network. Next, we found vulnerabilities on a VPN client. So we found a critical vulnerability in HMS eCatcher VPN client. It was a one-click RCE. So basically, the attack scenario is we're sending a malicious link to a technician, which is using this particular VPN client. Once the technician clicks the link, the computer, the machine will get exploited, and we will install our malware on it. So again, we found the vulnerabilities, we disclosed it to the company, we actually worked with the company to help them to remediate these issues, and now attackers cannot use this anymore because it was fixed. We've also researched vulnerabilities in cloud services. So usually cloud services are Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon Web Services. So this is what cloud means. This is what people think cloud are. But but in essence, cloud is just a server online. And we've researched ICS related clouds. One of the clouds that we researched is a remote access server. So basically, we researched a remote access solution that has a main server on the internet. It's a multi-tenant server, and this is why we call it cloud-based remote access solution. And we researched Secomea. So Secomea is a complex solution for a remote access. platform, and we found 4 vulnerabilities. One of them, the main one, is a critical remote code execution on the main server. So we had an exploit, uh, we had a working exploit that could hack the main server, and we could hack the main multi-tenancy server, and potentially from there we could have installed a malware. We could have infiltrate internal networks sitting behind the main server. So you can see here the main server, um, and we potentially had access to those companies sitting behind this main server. When we found this, we also tried to see who's affected. So we did kind of extensive research to understand what kind of companies are affected, and we tried to notify these companies that we found to be affected, and we tried to notify them so they could upgrade their servers. I have here a video. I'm not sure if it's going to work. So this is kind of the exploit in action. So you can see we have the gate manager, which is the main server, and we're running our exploit. And our goal here is to obtain a reverse shell. So we want to hack the server and get a control on it. So I've censored the main exploit because I don't want others to use it, but you can see here that I'm running a bunch of stuff, and eventually I can execute commands remotely on this multi-tenancy remote access server. So next, we researched third parties, but because I don't have time, I think I'm gonna skip to the last couple of slides. So the last stage in being a cybersecurity ICS hacker is a nation state sponsored hackers. And basically what it means is an entire operation with lots of infrastructure, lots of people, lots of money, lots of time that are all invested in one goal to do something, to have some kind of objective inside a manufacturing plant, or maybe a nuclear plant, maybe electric grid. So we have lots of examples from the last decade, and I'm sure you're kind of aware of most of these examples. So we have Stuxnet, targeted Iranian centrifuges. We had Black Energy and Indestroyer targeted Ukraine energy grids, and we had also a bunch of others like Triton, which targeted Middle Eastern oil and gas. And all of these examples are nation-state sponsored cybersecurity operations with extensive amount of resources, time, and money. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm not sure if we have time for questions, but I'm available.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing about some of the research and also highlighting, which was great, the ability to basically with the responsible, or, in this case, the disclosure process. That was really fascinating to hear about as well, and to hear that it went so well with kind of the feedback and stuff. So thank you so much.